Alright guys, I found something pretty cool, and I want to do an identification video for it, but I want to show you how I found this, and maybe you'll be able to find it the same way. And so I was riding my bike along down this trail, and I saw these fruit on the ground, and I just thought they were crab apples or something, but they looked a little different. So I decided to stop and take a closer look. And they've got a little pit inside of them. So I looked up, and there's a bunch of crab apples that grow all down through here. So I've seen this tree before, and I thought it was just a crab apple tree or something, but it's not. What it is American plum, wild plum, Prunus americana. Moved over here in the sun a little bit, so hopefully you can see these better, but the fruit is about 1 inch in diameter. Another one of the identification features of the fruit itself is it has this white bloom on it, which you can rub off with your finger. I've heard that that's actually a wild yeast, but I'm not 100% on that. And it's a red fruit. And I've read in books that it can sometimes be yellow as well. First time I ever found them, but take and wipe them off real good and get rid of the pit. Now the skin on these is quite bitter, so I just chew it up real good, get all that pulp off of the fruit, and then spit out the skin. I'll take you in close and show you the bark and the leaves. I guess first thing I'll show you is the tree itself. I mean, right there it is behind me. It's probably about 15 feet tall. I've seen where they can be anywhere from 6 to possibly 30 feet. And depending on what identification book you use, it's either listed as a tree or a shrub because it's kind of like right in between. But let me take you in close. Now there's a few different kinds of wild plums, but the way to distinguish this one is by the leaf. Pull that off of there. Now if you notice, the leaf is toothed, finely toothed. Kind of looks like a cherry leaf or a number of other species in the Prunus genus, but when it comes towards the edge, it kind of curves in real quick and makes a nice sharp point, and that's how you tell it's the American plum. The underside is a little bit lighter in color than the top. Go in, show you the bark. Now, typical of Prunus species, they have these horizontal lenticels, which are just little lines in the bark. And it's rather smooth when young, but as it ages, it starts to break apart and peel. And let me see if I can find it. Another identification feature of the American plum is some of the branches actually form little thorns, which you can kind of see that here, sharp little thorns on the branch. And it's alternately branched, meaning there's one on this side, then it comes down a little further and there's one on the opposite side. I'll give you guys a shot of the habitat. It likes growing near water, moist areas. Well guys, I don't know if you could sense the frustration in my voice, but as soon as I stopped to take a video of that plum tree, I just started getting attacked by mosquitoes. So what I did is I grabbed a few of the fruit and brought them back to the house here where I can relax and show you the details of the fruit, because that's the part that we're going to be eating. Alright, so here we go. These are the wild plums. Again, they're about 1 inch in diameter. And you can see they vary from red to yellow, depending on how ripe they are, I think. The flesh of the fruit is yellow, kind of a yellow or orange color. Here's the pit. It has a pit just like a plum you'd get in the store. And don't know if you can see it, but on each side of the seam of the pit, there's a little ridge. And that's listed as one of the identification features in one of my books, so I figured I'd mention it. And if you look at this one, you can clearly see that line that runs around the fruit, just like on a store-bought plum. There's a kind of like a little valley, a little line that runs around there. And store-bought plums also have the white bloom on them. You can see it down inside the stem area there. I'm wiping it off. Just like on this one, you can wipe that white bloom off. I thought that was really neat. You know, I've been riding down that trail for years now and just thought those were crab apples, never bothered to give them a second look, and just happened to find them when they're getting ripe, which is it's right around the last 2 weeks of August, right around the end of summer, the beginning of fall. That's the time when the wild plums get ripe. And plums are my favorite fruit anyway, so I'm really happy to find them. I'm gonna gather up a bunch of those seeds and try to grow some. And just to give you a little idea, I looked around and I heard that Native Americans would use the root to make a red dye, and also the twigs and inner bark were made in a decoction and used to treat mouth sores and sore throat. And there's some other uses for the plant too, so it's a good plant to know. It has a lot of uses. It's a pretty substantial sized fruit for a wild fruit around here in Michigan. I guess I might as well eat this regular plum while I'm at it. But those wild plums right there, they good for making wine, good for making fruit leather, good for making jelly and jams, all sorts of stuff. These are so good. They're really sweet. Like I said, that skin is real bitter. So I just kind of try to carefully squish it in my mouth and get all that pulp off the skin without tearing the skin up. One of the best wild fruits I've found yet. They pretty much grow all over North America, with some exceptions. Out on the West Coast, it looks like they don't grow as much, and maybe Texas. But the whole East Coast, all of central United States, and most of Canada that attaches to the United States. Now there's a couple other wild plums, the Canada plum and the beach plum. They're somewhat similar, but if you just pay attention to those details that I showed you, the pointy tip on the leaf and stuff, you should be able to tell them apart. And if you want to find out about the other wild plums, maybe they happen to be the one that grows in your area, then just get a field guide or identification book on trees and shrubs and look at the differences between the three. So you should have everything you need to be able to go out and identify the wild plum. I'm eating a regular plum right now. And enjoy some good wild edible food. even though I'm not eating wild edible food. I'll go ahead and eat wild edible food. So that's it. I showed you the fruit, the tree, the bark, the leaf, the stems, the thorns. I showed you the type of habitat it likes to grow in. I told you the range and distribution of the plant. And I told you the time of year that it fruits. So you should have everything you need to be able to go out and identify the wild plum, American plum, Prunus americana. Thanks for watching, and thanks for all the comments and support.